Beowulf, A New Telling by Robert Nye. Chapter 12. Beowulf Goes Home. Next morning, Beowulf was woken by a hoarse sound, repeated over and over. It was like something grim and cheerless that has suddenly found within it a will to sing. He looked out the window and saw a raven, black as soot, perched in the branches of a tree. The raven's breast was swollen with musical ambition, and its eyes were like little sparks. It flapped its wings vigorously and hopped up and down on a withered bough. Every now and again it managed an untuneful note. Beowulf smiled and gazed to the east where dawn was in the wind. "Sing on, raven," he said. "Welcome morning as you can. You sound like my toothache, but welcome's no worse for that." Strange to tell, the raven now managed 3 ascending notes of great purity. Then it shook its wings as though casting off night forever, took a couple of awkward steps, and flew away. At once, all the other birds began to sing. Beowulf touched his jaw in wonder. His toothache was gone. Long light spilled across the fen. Beowulf considered it with a lump in his throat. This was not his country. He wanted to go home. He went to Hrothgar and told him so. Hrothgar was sad. He said, "Beowulf, I love you as my own son. Why not stay here forever, where your fame is?" But Queen Wealhtheow did not seek to make him change his mind in this fashion. "Beowulf's fame is wherever Beowulf is," she said. "Go home, hero, with our thanks and blessings." Then the king saw by the tears in Beowulf's eyes, at the mere mention of the word home, that he did indeed pine for his own country. So he took Beowulf's hands between his own and blessed and thanked him as the queen had, his voice trembling with sincerity, and gave him 12 jewels, burning stones, the most precious things he owned. "May your voyage be attended by white birds," he said, tears trickling down his cheeks. Beowulf was deeply moved. He saluted them both. "Thank you," he said. "I shall not mind if the birds are black." And he thought again of the raven that had tried to sing the dawn in. The coast guard came to meet the marching men. "God bless you, Beowulf," he said simply. "I am glad you did not take my advice and go home in the first place." Beowulf laid his hand on the coast guard's shoulder. "Your advice was well meant," he said, "and I like your simplicity." He looked eagerly at the bay. "Is my ship prepared?" "It is," said the coast guard. Room had to be made for the treasures Hrothgar had heaped on Beowulf, chiefly gold and horses. The coast guard helped with this. He was a huge man, with patient hands, and the horses trusted him even when their hooves were nervous of the tilting deck. When all was ready, Beowulf called the coast guard to him. "On a little hill to the west," he said, "within sight of Hall Heorot, you will find my sword. It is a good sword. Guard it well, and it will guard you. I want you to have it." The coast guard thanked him. "One question," he said. "Why did you go against Grendel without your sword?" Beowulf smiled. "On your advice, my friend." "My advice?" The coast guard frowned. Beowulf dipped his hands in the sea. He let the cold green water drip through his cupped palms. "It was you who told me that fighting Grendel was like fighting the sea itself," he said. "Well then, whoever took a sword to kill the ocean?" The sails opened, the tall mast rang. The great curved prow cut clean and quick through scudding foam. In such a vessel, coming back so happy from such a venture, they soon reached home. When they did, Beowulf knelt on the beach and gathered up shingle in his fists and kissed it. Then he stood up and let his feet sink deep into soft sand. Then he ran along the shore, kicking shells in all directions. At last he came back to his men, panting, his face flushed, still grinning, not in the least ashamed of his boyish behavior. "It's good to be back home," he said. And they all agreed and cheered. They dragged down the wide sails. They set about the ship's unpacking. The horses shivered on the new shore. The gold was soon heaped so high a man might not see over it to where the sun slipped into a sea flecked with black and white birds, the gulls that had followed them home.